that hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side. And then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
What did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
Buckle up, because we're diving straight into the chaos that turned daytime TV into a viral battlefield. The View, that morning talk show where opinions collide like bumper cars on espresso, just got served a reality check so brutal it's still trending. Picture this: Whoopi Goldberg, the queen of clapbacks, caught in a storm of her own making, with Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly tag teaming a takedown that left the internet in flames. This isn't just a story about a bad TV segment, it's a masterclass in how one misstep can spark a digital demolition derby. Let's break it down in 10 parts, from the spark to the explosion, and trust me, you won't want to blink.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them.
Disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes.
The opening shot. It all started with a single segment on The View that went off the rails faster than a runaway train. Whoopi, perched on her talk show throne, decided to take a swing at Turning Point USA's summit, where 5,000 high school and college students gathered to hear conservative speakers. She didn't just critique, she painted the entire event as a chaotic mess, tossing out claims that hit like a sledgehammer. Problem is, her facts were shakier than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. The internet caught wind, and before the commercial break hit, the backlash was already brewing. Why did this spark such a fire? Because you don't smear thousands of kids and walk away unscathed.
The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Charlie Kirk enters the chat. Enter Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, who wasn't about to let Whoopi's rant slide. This wasn't a polite, let's discuss moment. Kirk came in hot, armed with receipts and a megaphone. He called out The View for targeting young attendees, accusing them of reckless defamation. I'm used to attacks, he said, but going after 16 and 17-year-olds, that's low. His response wasn't just a clapback, it was a full-on media blitz. Clips, tweets, podcast rants, you name it. The internet ate it up, and suddenly, Whoopi's segment wasn't just a bad take, it was a trending catastrophe.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So,
Megyn Kelly's ice-cold precision. Just when you thought the drama couldn't get spicier, Megyn Kelly swooped in like a courtroom prosecutor with a vendetta. While Kirk brought the heat, Kelly brought the chill, dissecting Whoopi's rant with surgical precision. She didn't yell or grandstand. She laid out a timeline of The View's missteps, from sloppy fact-checking to outright bias. This isn't a one-off, Kelly said. It's a pattern. Her calm, collected takedown hit harder than any screamfest, turning Whoopi's smug sermon into a case study in media overreach. The studio lights might as well have dimmed in shame. The View's crumbling fortress.
I mean, there was this turning point conference with all the smoke. What are they smoking something down there? Or it's like, whatever. Anyway, they were out there. They were in the front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Whoa, the drama. Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, threatened to sue The View. And let me tell you, the nonsense that ensued is really something.
Let's talk about The View itself. Once a platform for lively debate, it's morphed into a chaotic group chat where nuance goes to die. Picture a panel where every take is a dodgeball, and Whoopi's the captain hurling opinions with zero fact-checking. The show's become less about conversation and more about who can shout the loudest. When Whoopi doubled down on her claims, dismissing critics with her signature eye roll, it only fueled the fire. The audience started to notice. This wasn't bold truth-telling, it was a performance, and the script was getting old. The apology that wasn't enough under pressure, The View issued a rare correction. 4, to be exact. Whoopi took to the air with a half-hearted "my bad," admitting she'd lumped the Turning Point students in with unrelated protesters. But here's the kicker. The apology felt like it was dragged out of her by a legal team, not a change of heart. "I don't like assumptions made about me, so I shouldn't make them about others," she said. But the damage was done. Viewers weren't buying it, and Kirk wasn't letting it go, hinting at a lawsuit that kept the pressure on. The apology didn't cool the drama. It threw gas on it.
Asked him about that. They asked him about that moment. Watch this, SOT 36.
When the vice president was here, I asked her if she would have done something differently than your administration over the past 4 years. And because of all the successes that your administration had, I think her response was, "There is not a thing that comes to mind." Now, that answer was weaponized against her. And there has been some reporting that you encouraged her.
I think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this.
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather self-evident.
The internet's feeding frenzy. The internet doesn't sleep, and this mess was a 5-course meal for meme lords and TikTok creators. Clips of Whoopi's rant went viral, remixed with dramatic zooms, sad piano tracks, and laser eyes for extra flair. Twitter timelines lit up with hot takes, from Whoopi's lost it to The View's a circus. Hashtags like #Whoopi meltdown trended for days, and every corner of the web had an opinion. It wasn't just a TV moment anymore. It was a cultural pile-on, with everyone from influencers to randos piling on the chaos. The View wasn't ready for this kind of spotlight. Why this hit so hard? So why did this blow up? It's not just about one bad segment. Whoopi's built a brand on bold, unfiltered takes, but lately, those takes have felt more like rants than wisdom. She's been coasting on her icon status, tossing out opinions like confetti without checking the wind. Meanwhile, The View's format, endless hot takes with zero accountability, made it a ticking time bomb. When Kirk and Kelly called it out, they didn't just critique a moment, they exposed a whole system of lazy commentary. The audience didn't just roll their eyes, they grabbed the remote. The fall of an icon.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college
doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach.
Whoopi's not new to controversy, but this felt different. Her larger-than-life persona, once a strength, started looking like a caricature. The eye rolls, the sermon-like rants, the I know better vibe. It's all starting to land like a rerun no one asked for. Megyn Kelly's takedown was especially brutal, not because it was loud, but because it was precise. She painted Whoopi not as a villain, but as irrelevant, a word that stings worse than any insult in the media world. The crowd that once cheered her every word was now scrolling past, and that silence hit loud. The View's identity crisis. The View's bigger problem is its own identity. What started as a platform for diverse voices has become a shouting match where facts are optional and outrage is the dress code. The panelists feed off each other's energy, but it's less about insight and more about who can drop the wildest soundbite. When Kirk accused them of smearing 5,000 students to push a narrative, he wasn't just calling out Whoopi, he was calling out a show that's lost its grip on reality. Viewers are noticing and the ratings are starting to wobble. Is this the beginning of the end? What's next for Whoopi, The View, and the media circus?
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
So, where do we go from here? Let's unpack this like it's the finale of a reality show where the stakes are real and the drama's still simmering. Whoopi Goldberg, once the untouchable queen of daytime TV, is now walking a tightrope over a pit of viral memes and skeptical viewers. She's still showing up to The View, same chair, same signature sass, but there's a subtle shift in her vibe, like someone who senses the audience isn't laughing as hard or clapping as loud. Her trademark eye rolls, once a power move, now feel like a reflex that's lost its edge. Can she pull off a comeback? She's bounced back from controversies before. Decades in the spotlight don't happen without resilience. But this time, the ground feels shakier. The internet doesn't forget, and with every new clip, tweet, or TikTok remix, her missteps are cemented in digital history. She's not just fighting for her reputation, she's fighting to stay relevant in a media landscape that chews up icons and spits out punchlines. Then there's The View itself, a show that's starting to feel like a relic trying to keep up with a world that's moved on. Its formula, hot takes, loud debates, and a sprinkle of celebrity charm worked when daytime TV was the main stage for cultural conversation, but now it's competing with X, TikTok, and YouTube, where unfiltered voices and raw authenticity rule. The show's become a caricature of itself, a place where panelists toss out opinions like confetti, hoping something sticks, while viewers scroll through their phones, unimpressed. The ratings are still there, but they're wobbling, and whispers of declining viewership are getting louder. Could ABC pull the plug? Unlikely in the short term, those ad dollars are still flowing. But if the show doesn't evolve, it risks fading into the background noise of cable TV, a once mighty giant reduced to a nostalgic rerun. What about the bigger picture? This whole saga isn't just about Whoopi or The View. It's a snapshot of where media's headed. We're in an era where one bad take can spark a firestorm, and the line between entertainer and commentator is blurrier than ever. Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly didn't just call out a bad segment, they exposed a crack in the foundation of legacy media. Shows like The View thrive on outrage, but when the outrage turns on them, what's left? Kirk's still out there, cranking out content that fuels his base, while Kelly's cool-headed dissections keep her in the conversation. They're playing the new media game, direct, unfiltered, and platform savvy, while The View's stuck in a studio shouting into a void that's increasingly tuned out. Let's talk redemption. Could Whoopi flip the script? A heartfelt, unscripted moment, maybe a candid interview or a viral X post where she owns the misstep, could win back some goodwill. She's got the charisma, the history, and the fan base to pull it off, but it'll take more than a half-baked apology. She'd need to ditch the sermonizing, lean into vulnerability, and show she's listening, not just preaching. The View, on the other hand, needs a reboot. Swap out the shouting matches for real debates. Bring in fresh voices who aren't afraid to challenge the room and maybe, just maybe, fact check before hitting the airwaves. But change is hard when you're a daytime juggernaut coasting on brand loyalty. Will they adapt or keep doubling down until the audience fully checks out? Now, let's bring it to you, the viewer. This drama's more than a popcorn-worthy clash. It's a mirror to how we consume media. Are you Team Whoopi, rooting for her to reclaim her crown? Team Kirk and Kelly, cheering for the takedown of a show you think's lost its way? Or are you just here for the memes, watching the internet turn chaos into comedy gold? Drop your take in the comments. We're reading every single one. And let's get real. If The View keeps slipping, what's next? A new show? A new host? Or does daytime TV just fade into the streaming abyss? Hit that like button if you're as invested in this saga as we are. Smash subscribe to stay in the loop and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. We're diving deep into the culture wars, the media meltdowns, and the moments that make the internet explode. Stick with us because this is just the beginning.